The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Magic. Ghosts. UFOs. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
And good evening, everyone. This is Jerry with The Calling, along with Kimberly Juarez. How you doing, Miss Kimberly?
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Not too bad. I see your little kitty running around there.
Yeah, he's our co-host today. He's just trying to get up here on the table. He wants me to pet him because he hasn't seen me all day. So,
Oh, well, have him. We'll have him as a guest.
Right there, you go.
We'll just sit there and listen to him purr all day long, all night long.
Right? Yeah. So, how are you, Jerry? How's everything?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We missed you last week.
I know.
You were on last week.
I was on last week. It's just I'm still trying to get over that cold. I didn't do a lot of talking, that's for sure. Trying to get over that cold. It's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy is right, because I think, like they were talking about last night on the gathering, about the snow. And when the snow melts, there's a lot of mold underneath there and stuff, and it's releasing out. And dang, I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, everybody's getting it. Who never ever had allergies, now they got them.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, there were some people at the laundry today when I was doing laundry. They're like, "I can't stand this. These allergies are just horrible."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let me just get my stuff and get out of here.
Get out of there. Yeah.
They're all hacking up a lung and sneezing and all that stuff. God.
Well, right now I have pneumonia, so
That's right.
Which is hard to get rid of. They say it takes a long, long time. So yeah, send me some vibes out here, our little chat room, because I don't know, I'm still fighting it and just feels like it's getting worse than getting better. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So, just don't gross me out by a lung flying out of you.
Right.
That's gross.
I think I'm over that part.
Oh, okay. Right.
Just never know.
So what are we talking about tonight?
So tonight I want to talk about true paranormal stories, but they're movies. When they make the movies out of true paranormal stories, so like The Entity, Amityville Horror, Exorcist, stuff like that. One that's got me really interested is The Entity. So far I've seen the movie, and I remember seeing it when I was a little kid, but I was little. I wasn't even that much little, but I don't remember it, but I do know it was a true story. And so we watched the movie on the weekend, my investigators, because I have a chat with Kat, and I do it every 2 Thursdays of the month. And so I kind of wanted to learn more about this lady who claims that she was being, assaulted by a ghost or an entity of some sort. But so far I have the book, and I'm reading the book now because we just watched the movie, which I probably should have read the book first. But then when I'm looking at the book, this man just took her story and revised it to make it sound good. So I feel like in reality this book is probably not as true, like the movie, because it's Hollywood, right. And the only part that they do say, and it is in the book as well, the names of course are all changed.
Which they should be. Yeah.
Right. Which they should be, because it is a private thing. And I just think that, I don't know, Hollywood just amplifies it. But she does say, that's one of the parts they did take out, that she was very assaulted to the point where she had bruises between her legs and bruises on her body and bite marks. And she says that the entity, and it does claim on the book, on the story of Hollywood, in her true story, it does claim that she felt that it was a tall entity. There's three of them. One tall one, one big heavy set one, and two little ones that pinned her down, that helped pin her down. So I think I just saw a lung fly out, Jerry.
I'm sorry. I had just
kidding.
I just pushed the button to mute it, and the biggest sneeze I've ever had kind of came out. And it was like,
oh my God, that was kind of
so
funny.
I looked at you right away because I was like, God, I hope that didn't go all over the place.
Right.
I mean, it went all over the place here. I'll clean off the TV later.
Oh. It's just great. Anyways, so apparently these entities, but then in the story, she claims the entity looks Chinese because she literally can see the entity. And in the book and in the movie, she says she can't see them, but she can feel them. So, there's three stories. Two are fictional, of course, are made to elaborate her story. And then there's, of course, the entity, the story of her life. And it is true, though, there were parapsychologists, and they did help her. They were trying to help her. But apparently in this house, and she lived in Culver City in California. And as a matter of fact, my mom took me to the house.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so that is true because I've been to the house. So
you've been in the house or just
no, to the house,
outside?
to the house.
To the house.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but apparently, again, and it does say in the movie and in the true story that it follows her. So it has nothing to do with the house, the home. And so these two paranormal investigators, they did go to the house that she's supposed to be in. They make her seem in the movie that she's all put together and she's got a good life and everything. And then, but in the reality, she isn't really put together. She has, of course, a lot of rough life. Her house wasn't very put together either. She also in the movie, it tells you that she has two girls and one son, when in reality she has three boys and one daughter. So in true life, it's one girl and three boys. So and the boys are kind of like, of course, typical boys that don't listen to their mother, and they could see this because the paranormal investigators or parapsychologists, they went over to the home because they wanted to see a little bit more about how she lived, and then they were going to, do a walkthrough, basically. They were doing a walkthrough.
Right.
So, in the movie, they show that they have all these people in one tiny little house, and of course they explain that too in the true story. And so they do get some kind of, they said they could literally see an apparition. They asked her to call it out, and she did. And all of a sudden they could see an apparition, and they could see like a green form, and then they could see a body forming around it, in a sense. But everybody's in that room, so they're actually all seeing it. So they do document it. So that's the true part of it so far that we know. They only got one picture, and they show you the picture. And this is a YouTube story that I'm going off of because it's like a quick version because I'm not done with the book yet. But then again, the book, the entity, I have it in hand. It is just basically the movie. So if you're going to read the book, you're basically, it's the movie basically. So it's kind of Hollywood in a sense.
So what exactly is a parapsychologist? What are they?
So a parapsychologist is somebody who believes in like paranormal or phenomenons or UFOs. They're believed, but they have a psychology kind of so I know that they're like more of an educated type of investigator, type of paranormal investigation, so they're doing everything scientifically. I want to say that's how they're doing it.
Okay, so
But they
they're
do believe, they do have some kind of belief in the paranormal. And then there's the actual psychologists that don't believe in none of that. And everything has to be because it's your mentality, it's your mental, it's where you live, how you live when you were little. If you were, say, if you had a troubled life, an alcoholic for a mother, a drug addict for a father, if you've lived that later in the years in your adult life, this is what can happen, and you think it's paranormal. Because majority of the time, the real psychologists will say, well, how was your life?
Right.
Well, your mother is an alcoholic and your father's a drug addict, and you were probably incest in your household, or you had somebody. I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything, but this is how they see it. This is what they're basically based on that type of thinking that that's what's causing your so-called paranormal.
Right. Well, here it's explaining parapsychology is a field of study that investigates paranormal or psychic phenomenon, including purported mental abilities such as telepathy and telekinesis. Parapsychologists aim to test the existence and explore the nature of experiences and abilities in the paranormal realm.
Right. So her story, and her true name is Doris. And her story, I mean, I just think it's interesting. So I guess when she moved, eventually, they try to help her. They got this story, and I guess she moved to two different, like a lot of locations, in California, and then she moved to Texas, then came back to California again. But she says it followed her. So she was was happening on a constant. They never could solve anything for her. And it just constantly kept going, I guess, apparently. Although she has passed away. She, I think it was for respiratory. I want to say, I can't remember what I read, but illness, yeah. And she did pass away. But they claim that they asked the people who live in the home if anything happened to them. That the home in where it all started in Culver City, and apparently it has nobody has been affected. So but she says it followed her. So I would like to. It would be interesting to know the children's part and what they saw, because they literally saw, one of the boys did try to help her, and that part was true. He tried to help her, and he said he literally felt something just pick him up and fling him across the room. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of craziness. I think.
I bet you there's so many people that when it comes to paranormal acts and stuff, where they read a book or they see a movie or they hear stuff, they just kind of attack at it like it's, paranormally, like it's something that they're supposed to do. There's a house actually down in, I'm not going to say it. It's an axe murderer house. That's not the one in Iowa that I'm talking about. Okay. It's in Minnesota. Okay. And there's an app out there that it's called something like Haunted or Not. Mm-hmm. And these guys put in there, claims. And they're like, is this place haunted or not? Some of these are just houses. Even though this axe murder house, they want to know, is it haunted? What has happened and stuff. And it's like, I called the people that own the house. Mm-hmm. And I said, the reason for my call, I said, and I'm not trying to be stupid here, is that, did you know that your house is listed on a paranormal app? And the guys are, what? And I said, your house is listed on a paranormal app. And they said, for what? I said, because your house in 1978 was a axe murderer house.
Mhm.
And he said, yeah, and we didn't know it when we bought that. We bought it 10
Yeah.
years later. They never told us about that, but we got it dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And I said, well, were the walls and the floor? He said, those were ripped out and they redid it and everything. But then we found out later that, 4 people were murdered by their son here. And I said, have you had people coming to your house? Well, it's strange, he said, because people will drive down the street and stop and they get out and take pictures of our house. And I said, well, that could possibly be it. Here's who you need to get a hold of, because this is crap.
It is.
They're taking a family who has nothing to do with it. They just want to live in their house. And they said
Right.
they've never had anything happen in the house. And just because there's a violent murder or something, happened in there, it doesn't mean that it's haunted.
Yeah. That's true.
I think
That
it's
is true.
crazy. Steffi says most of the movies, TV shows, or the Hollywood version only
Right.
believe a fraction of what you see, and that is
Exactly.
true.
That
you
is
know,
true.
It was funny in that show that Steph and I were on. I told them that when we were there, and I think Steph did too, that we never split up our team. Nobody goes by themselves. We go as a team, always
Team,
2
yeah.
people and stuff. And they had Steph walking around in a cemetery type place by
Yeah.
herself, and it's like, no, that, even though we had to push, and we still need to put Steph on her leash so she doesn't get lost, which I yelled at her last time we were out there, because all of a sudden we look and she's a block away in a field, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That's true. That's
It
true.
is true. That's Steph, She's going to go through a floor or something, but
I
anyway.
know. Get stuck in the mud.
Yeah, you got pictures of that. I need
Yeah,
that. Oh,
true story.
stop. She said.
Video.
Yeah, we got to show the video of that one of these times. It's like that's what we should do. We should do a show on some of the bloopers.
I know that'd be a good show.
That would be.
That would be.
How not to get stuck in the mud. One of my favorites, I got to say this before we move on, is we were doing a place up in northern Minnesota in International Falls. Now, me and George are on our team, and George is a huge skeptic. He doesn't believe unless he sees it. And we were doing this store, but it was a coffee shop. But back in the days, Steph, I'm an adventurous. But anyway, back in the day, it was a meat place. So what do you call that? Butcher shop.
Butcher shop.
And yeah. So in the basement, George was down there by himself. And all of a sudden you hear him say, May, you better get down here. And what he was filming is, it looks like an entity is moving right along with him. And what it was the infrared bouncing off a stainless steel refrigerator. So
Yeah.
it looked like there was something that was, walking with him from across the hall. And he got really scared about it. Then all of a sudden you hear him say, oh, forget it. And he told us about it. And yeah, I know, I couldn't stop teasing him about it, but it was too funny. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, people just need to stop and doing that, because you're going to be ruining somebody's life.
Well, the thing is, I feel for her. And she actually wants to take some type of she needs somebody to help her. Basically it was to help her. But of course, these guys, back then, you got to think about it. What was it, 1979 when this all happened? And it just started happening to her. Like, she didn't have any type of activity before, or, before she's like 30 years old, and has children. And, of course, she didn't have really great relationships. And, I just feel for her because this thing is literally attacking her. And, you still want to know, where did it come from? How come it's happening to her? Why, and in the movie, it literally sounds like the devil, this big, great, big, tall person. And that's the first thing they want to say is the devil. But in the story, she says it's a Chinese. She felt like it looked like a Chinese man, because they did see the apparition. The children saw the apparition, and she saw it, and she said it looked like this big Chinese man. They just didn't see the little ones because you couldn't see them. But she says that they do see like the figure, like a figure shape, you know. So, and the son seen it. So the sons and the daughters, they all saw the whatever it was. I mean, I wasn't there, so I'm just telling you what I read. And to me, like, it's just so sad because they really couldn't help her because, they're barely into the paranormal. They're barely like talking about how they want to document these things about, and they're actually, these two, they're actually from UCLA. So they're from the University of UCLA. And they're barely learning this stuff. They're barely getting into a lot of this stuff. So it's kind of a hit and miss. She's like, okay, can you help me? And then they bring in this big old team of, like they were doing not infrared cameras because they didn't have infrared cameras, but they were doing light spectrum cameras and all these big, huge things. And they had 30 people in one little room and, having her there. And then she has to call out the entity and she's got to, and of course it develops and everything. So they get the picture, and the only picture they can get was like a halo like light over her. And that's all they could get. And so it is on YouTube. I should try to see if I can share the link. Maybe I can share it later. But
okay.
It's just, I just think it's sad because they really couldn't help her. They didn't have enough knowledge. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's funny. It's just that Hollywood, they'll probably get a story and everything else, and they're like, it's not scarier enough. There's, scary enough.
Yeah.
Let's put, based on true story, then people are going to expect it to be scary, and that's the big thing right there. Right. Like the Exorcist. The Exorcist was actually a boy. It wasn't a girl. It was in 1949. It was a 14-year-old boy's exorcism in Maryland.
Wasn't it two boys, Jerry, on that one, though?
I think it was two. I read somewhere that there was two boys.
Mm-hmm.
But it says a boy broke into a violent tantrum of screaming, cursing, and voicing Latin phrases, language that he never had studied. According to the story, the author of William Peter's Blatty 1971 novel, The Exorcist, based on the 1973 film, in which a younger Linda Blair projectile vomited pea soup. I still got to say that still makes me want to vomit every time. Or, I'm sorry, that's a gross word. Regurgitate.
That's even grosser.
It is. The boy who whispered blame, in reality, the boy who inspired Blair's character was probably troubled, not possessed.
Right.
There was a guy, a Marylander named Mark, who didn't buy the story, investigated it, and published his findings in Strange Magazine, 1999. He identified the boy in the story and interviewed people who had known him, though he did not release the boy's name, and concluded the boy likely had psychological problems and was mimicking the priest's Latin, which I definitely could see. That. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And it's like the Amityville Horror, too, in 1979. I mean, that was, the Defoe family murdered his entire family in their sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, and then 1 year later, the family purchased a home. 1 year later, how could somebody kills his entire family his parents, 2 sisters, 2 brothers, and then a year later somebody just buys it.
Well, because they didn't know about it. Remember,
This-
they never disclosed stuff like that. If
Well,
the
they-
houses were haunted or,
They have to now.
yeah, they have to now.
Yep, they have to now. If it's been a murder or a suicide, it's got to be told inside there that happened. Now,
Right.
if it was a death, natural causes, then you don't have to worry about that whatsoever.
Well, I did investigate a house that is an old funeral home, and they'd never disclosed that to the people who bought it. And they thought,
Really?
wow, this is really cheap. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And, and it's a beautiful home. So when they got it, they were like, wow, this is pretty cheap. This is pretty awesome. Blah, blah, blah. And then they go to a furniture place here, and it's here in Waseca. They go to a furniture place, and all of a sudden they tell them, oh, isn't that the old funeral home? And they're like, what? And yeah, they never disclosed it. They never told them that it was an old funeral home, so yeah. So, well, I don't know if they still, I don't know how important that is now to be on some paperwork. I don't know. But, yeah, so they
I'm
didn't tell.
sure something like that. How long ago
I know.
did they buy it?
They just bought it I think they're in there for now 2 or 3 years now.
I would go back and complain unless nothing's happening in the house and everything's fine and stuff. But I would still make it a case to, bring it up to that realtor company
It was active. It was only active towards certain people in the home. The owner, I don't think he was frivolous. He did say he did see something. That's what he told me. I did see something. He's like, but I don't know. But and he tried to disclaim anything that I kind of showed him a little bit of. So we got some pretty good. I think we did well. But again, they never told them, and I still think that is wrong. They should have told them that it was an old funeral home, and they actually found like the old style, the old records of how it used to be before it was more, of course it was updated, of course, and it's a beautiful home. I'll tell you right now, it's all wood, beautiful, gorgeous home. They had a viewing room, and when I did my reading in there, I knew exactly where everything was at. He said, yep, that's true. This is true. He goes, and you never saw the paper? I said, nope, I don't know anything about this home. All I know, it was an old funeral home. That's all I knew. And I just couldn't, I was floored when they didn't tell them. I was floored. So,
Wow.
yeah.
There was a funeral home next to the bank that I bank at, Financial One. And so when you're sitting in the drive-through, you would look directly at their garage of the funeral home. And there was times that they had bodies in the wintertime out there in the garage.
Yeah. That's what they said.
Yeah, they keep them cold and stuff.
Keep them cold. The basement. That's
But
where they kept them.
No, this is right there. This is
Really?
the garage.
That's crazy.
And they'd always leave the door open. One time they had 2 caskets in there. One was adult size, one was child.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy, I told the teller in there, like, they do that all the time.
Oh.
And people complain about it. We call the police, the city, and let them know. But they're like, well, I ain't going anywhere. They're dead. It's like, to me, that's really disrespectful.
It is disrespectful. I mean, come on. They could even put something like, couldn't they, if that's what they were going to have to do to keep them, well, then you should cover it or something, put a covering over so you can't see it.
Nothing like that. They were
on
the thing. Yeah. Oh, it's time for a break. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and finish what I was talking about. So we'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
If you're looking for a truly unique podcast experience, we have you covered. Spirit Bayou with CJ Dunham airs live from the Third Coast in Southeast Texas on Tuesday and Fridays at midnight Eastern Time, covering Creole folklore and folk magic to strange paranormal activity to new equipment for the field. CJ Dunham is a Catholic swamp witch, a devotee to our Mother Mary in the Trinity, a true believer in our Lord, the Holy Ghost, and Christ. Peace be with your spirit and the spirits by you.
Hey Heidi, have you listened to The Calling lately?
Why, yes, Steph, I have. It's really good. Have you?
Absolutely. It's what I would say is a wild and woolly affair.
So does that mean it's a wild and woolly Wednesday show?
Well, I definitely think that's true.
So you know we listen, since The Calling is the sibling show to our show, The Gathering.
Listen to The Calling radio show with Jerry and Kimberly Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right here on the Para X Radio Network.
Dead Zone. I want to give a huge shout out to Shauna and congratulations on her new podcast, Exploring the Paranormal Perspective. You'll hear some amazing guests like me, paranormal and true crime stories, and more. Catch her Wednesdays at 8 Central on the Para X Radio Network.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X.
And we're back. This is Jerry and Kimberly of The Calling. And hey, if you just joined us and you're wondering, what are they talking about? Well, join the first half. You can listen to it tomorrow, as we'll put it on our website, www.thecallingradioshow.com, or you can find it on YouTube at The Calling Radio Show and YouTube. And if you are up for lots of great entertainment, Para X is the place to be. I mean, it's loaded with shows. You have what's her name? What is her name, Kimberly? It's right after us.
Oh, Shauna.
Shauna, yeah, with Geeks Paranormal.
Geeks Paranormal.
I know Shauna's like my best friend, right? And then you have The Gathering, which is on Tuesday nights, and they had a really good show last night. They played EVPs and everything. That was Heidi and stuff. That's on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, only on Para X. But there's like tons of shows. Every day there's tons of show. And get to know some of these people in the chat room. They're awesome. Like some will never be late for a show except for Moofy and Kat aren't here tonight. But, check them all out. There's a lot of fun people out there and everything. So, okay. So, now, we were talking about the funeral homes and stuff like that. Now, let's go back to what we were talking about here. We were talking about, I had to look again, the Amityville Horror House. So you had the Defoe family who murdered his entire family. You have the Lutzes that lived there, had tons of claims, everything from green slime oozing down their walls, creatures with red eyes, multiple families levitating off their beds. Gosh, it was supposed to be a really horrible thing. Now, Defoe's lawyer admitted that George Cathy, had created a horror story over many bottles of wine, even so that the tale raised the profile of Ed and Lorraine Warren, a couple who got involved with the Amityville horror story and helped promote it. So I'm not trying to discredit other paranormal investigators, but, come on. If you're going to do this, you need to do this correctly. You need to do it the right way, not, by making stuff up. Yeah.
So
Either
there
it's
was
real or it's not.
So there was a claim, I'm not trying to put in because I love the Warrens to death because they're the ones that really helped. The thing is that I feel like they can apparently there was a case where they alternate a case. And again, they claimed all these different things so that way people can believe in the paranormal. But I mean, how far does it go? Again, because they were in that house and they claimed all these different things. So now, how much of it is true, right? That's what you're basically, what we're trying to say. So again, it's just hard now,
right,
for these claims. So, sorry,
yep.
Jake.
So it's funny is that they even set themselves up as psychics and clairvoyants who investigated ghosts and hauntings. The guy who was talking about this was Benjamin Radford, deputy editor of Skeptical Inquirer magazines. I didn't even know these magazines were out there. Hear about stories either in the news or just sort of through the grapevine. Then they would sort of introduce themselves to the story, but more on them, another time. Now, one story I thought was incredible was Serpent and the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Because the Serpent and the Rainbow was actually pretty much, they tried to keep it to original as possible.
Right, they did.
It was in 1985, a white American graduate student, Wade Davis, published a book with an extremely long title, The Serpent and the Rainbow, a Harvard scientist's astonishing journey into the secret societies of Haitian voodoo, zombies, and magic. And here there was a toxin found in a pufferfish. To trick people into thinking they've died and come back to life as zombies from Haitian folklore.
Yep.
Many other scientists denounce Davis's claim as bunk, introducing tetrodotoxin expert who called it carefully planned, premeditated case of scientific fraud. But now, again, Wes Craven, when he grabbed that, he made The Serpent and the Rainbow with Bill Pullman, who's actually a really good actor. I like him. Now, a lot of these, though, again, you'd have to say that it was close to the truth of what this kid experienced, but there was a few things that were put in there. But when it came to the zombie powder, that was real stuff. It still is real, and they're still doing studies on that because, I mean, if that stuff really does what it does and takes away the pain, but yet you're still awake and everything else and everything, I mean, what a way to have an operation, because if I remember correctly, in a reading that I did, or when I read about that stuff, that there was hardly any side effects whatsoever.
Yeah,
and
so
it
apparently
didn't feel like a hangover or nothing.
Nothing. So it paralyzes your body. That's what it does.
Yep.
So you can look, you can see, but you can't move at all. Like you can't move.
Feel nothing.
Nope. And so that's what that does. That whatever that toxin does to your body. So it leaves you in a comatose state, but you can see. Comatose state, but you can see. I don't remember if you could hear. I can't remember that.
You could hear, all your senses are still there.
Okay, so then you can. You just don't. You can't move. That's the thing. You're paralyzed, literally. That's so scary. That would be so scary to me. I honestly believe that would be so scary to be under something like that, and you can hear and see everything, but you can't move. Those are dreams, I'm telling you.
Well, actually, that's just roughly the same thing as people get from sleep paralysis.
Paralysis, exactly.
So now The Haunting in Connecticut, 2009. Again, Ed and Lorraine, they were the people that were on that and everything. Basically, the parents claimed demons had raped them. And all that. And again, it really, it wasn't true. It was a lot of the stuff that went on. I'm sure that sleep paralysis was in that, and all sorts of things, but a lot of stuff just wasn't that big. Because then you had a spin-off of it, which is The Conjuring.
Right.
And then you had a spin-off of
Spin-off
that.
The Annabelle. Yep. You had all those spin-offs.
The Nun. Yep.
And apparently the Annabelle story is about a true haunted doll. But then again, how far does that go? I mean, how true is it?
Right, and the doll wasn't even, Annabelle's not the correct doll. It was
Correct.
a Raggedy Ann doll.
Ann doll, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, again, how do we know how and that's the hit and miss on these movies, and people, then they kind of claim their claims from these movies, or they get, I don't know. It just makes it so hard. And back then, too, they didn't have a lot of acknowledgement on the paranormal. People didn't accept it the way they do now, and they still don't accept it, but it's a lot more bigger, and there's so many people that want to be these paranormal investigators now, or ghost hunters, they call themselves.
Right.
So it gets a little bit crazy. In this
Well, even Ed Warren actually told a magazine one time, a Connecticut magazine, in the 70s, everybody has experienced one form of supernatural activity or another, but most of it, it's not a bunch of fairy tales, he said, but a lot of it is just not true. It's made up. Everybody wants to be, more and more, what do you want to say it? More and more glamour than the others,
right.
And stuff. And, I mean, even though I love Taps, I loved that show when it was out. It did get to one of the guys, I'm not going to say who it is, and he faked something. And he paid for that dearly, and, that's just the way stuff goes. Life is like that, but, let's see now. So let's take a look in here. There's Moofy. No puffer fish for me, please. I don't want to be well asleep during surgery, or I don't want to be.
I had a puffer fish, and he was the cutest thing ever. And he had these big, big, big colored eyes. They look like rainbows. And he came and he came to the top of the tank, and he would eat right out of your hand. Never stung. None. He puffed up, but never did anything to harm anybody. So
we used to have a Chinese fighting fish. Casey did. Its name was Thor. And Thor, every time I would walk into Casey's room, it would puff up and just want to fight me and just go back and forth. It was always mean. Everybody else would walk in and nothing would happen. And so
that's funny. I can see that. Aren't those the lionfish? Those are lionfish, aren't they?
No. Chinese fighting fish.
Fighting fish? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. It was a beta fish. Oh, a beta fish. Really? I thought it was a Chinese fighting fish. Ask Casey about that, Steph. I don't think it was a beta fish. But now Casey, I'm sure, will say, now is a beta fish. So that's nice of you, Steph. She's listening but not really paying attention. Okay. Thank you very much. That's our whole bunch of people here
there you
in the
go.
chat room. I knew she would say beta fish, not lionfish. Those are saltwater.
Yeah, those are saltwater.
What are lionfishes?
They're big. They kind of have these. They're kind of stringy looking, and they can sting too as well. And they do fight anything and everything, because they're really mean and aggressive fish.
Right.
So you can't really keep certain fish with them sometimes.
So here's something that's very, very sad, guys. I'm sorry, I got to bring this up. There was these two ducks that used to come to my window and everything, and once in a while I'd throw out corn or anything that I had and stuff. And recently something happened to the female, and now the male walks around out here. He goes where I put the corn and stuff, and he looks for his wife. He keeps yelling for her and stuff, and she's just not around. He just went
that's
past.
so sad.
Yeah. I want to say, come on in, I'll make you some soup. Not him making him into soup.
I was gonna say.
I just felt sorry for him. Poor
Yeah.
guy.
What do you think happened to her?
I don't know. I think she probably got hit by a car or something.
Maybe.
You know, around here they come flying through the thing and they don't care about other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, okay. So yeah. So some of these, movies and stuff, I never watch them because, everybody is like, oh, did you see this show?
Right.
ZB was on it and everything, and this happened and stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Well, you got to believe something. Yep, I believe the teams that I know, Cat Paranormal, Search for Spirits, those type of guys, that they go out there, they take a look for things, they find the truth of what's happening. They put down the truth. They're not going to sugarcoat it because this is what we do. We're, paranormal investigators and stuff. And
even though, like, when I find things or EVPs, I still second guess it, even though I'm like, get so excited because I heard this and blah, blah, blah. But you still end up second guessing because you need to make sure that what you're saying is true, So that's the thing. It's a little bit harder in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just so, it's crazy. It's just crazy. But there's even one. I'm not going to say who the team was, but one time, one of my friends that who used to be a paranormal investigator, and he quit because he couldn't take the crap anymore. But he went to a place, and it was a team that was supposed to be very well respected, had been around the longest in Minnesota ever. And it's not but anyway, so he goes there, and all of a sudden this guy looks up and runs into this guy's house, runs upstairs, and as they get up there and stuff, has a baby dangling, and he pulls the baby in, and he said the baby was about to jump. I seen it from up there. Yeah. And then they said, what are you talking about? So he said, I bet you it's going to be on my voice recorder. So the next day he brought it over there to show them, and he faked an EVP and pretended like he saved the baby. And that, I think, was the last time, because it went out like wildfire around Minnesota. And that was back in, 2013, 2014. And that's the last time that I seen that this person is still with that. Well, it was his team.
Yeah.
And I looked him up the other day for some reason. He came to me, and he's still doing radio shows.
Okay.
But, that's really low. That's just horrible, trying to get
crazy
notoriety on stuff like that. And I think that's what, fame really does to a person.
Yeah.
They want to be number one. They want to be all that. And I don't want that. I just want my stuff that I do that to be looked at as, SIM is.
Yeah, the credibility.
That our credibility is perfect, and that people really, take notice of what we do.
Right.
Because I mean, if I found out one of my team members was fake and stuff, that'd be the end of it. They would not, and I would make sure that everybody knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So that they wouldn't get them. There are fake investigators of paranormal, cryptid, and UFOs everywhere. That is true.
It's more for the fame. You notice that it's more for the fame, and they try to get famous for different things. And they already, like I said, they already go to these haunted places that are super haunted. And, and not every place, I can't even really say that. I mean, I just basically think it's a popularity thing.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really care for the popularity thing. I just like talking paranormal. I talk paranormal, and I like the stories that come out of it, and people can sit there. Well, true stories, of course, and there's got to be some truth to it, and I don't think people should be exaggerating it, or to making it spice it up to create something for themselves through it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I would still like to be known for what I do, especially,
Oh, yeah.
One day when we die, when someone was to say, Jerry's team or, Kimberly's team. I mean, they were, Steph, limelight horrors.
Limelight horrors. Paranormal horrors.
That's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah,
that's funny. But,
think so.
To be known that we did always try to keep positiveness and, and clean.
Right.
Being clean and stuff. So that'd be a good thing. Yeah. So there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think too, though, like Lorraine and them, of course, like I said, they may have done a couple of things. They did whatever. And, look at Zach Bagans. I mean, God, I said his name. Sorry, Jerry. But I mean, they get all these crazy people. And I think half of the people that they do that follow them are probably half crazy. I don't know.
Right.
But again, what's his name? He's got the means, and he can do whatever he does, like his museum. I thought it was pretty awesome. I have to put that he put it well put together and didn't exaggerate on half of those stories, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course, he bought a lot of the stuff that had a lot of juju on it. I'm just saying that place has got some juju. But yeah,
right.
So
right.
I mean, hey, props to them, I guess, But like me, I don't care for things. Have happened to me. A lot of things have happened. I'll admit to that. Experiences in a way, but I'm still out there wondering, and still out there trying to do the best you can to help people. So that's what we're here for.
That's the main thing. Yeah, that's we always said that helping people is number 2. Mm-hmm. Helping spirits are number 1.
Number 1. Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're there to help the people." It's like, no, we're there to help the unseen.
Right.
Some of the people have to deal with what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to remember that there was lives there before them, and that sometimes they just need a little help to get out.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, and not all things want to go, Jerry. Not like all things want to go. Some things just want to be where they're at,
Right.
Like, leave me alone, And I just find that I find it more and more sometimes. So again, you try to do your best to help, help to move them on, because some of them are lost. They get murdered instantly, and then they're like, what happened to me? I'd be that way if I got hit by a brick and died, and how do I know,
Right.
I would want you or search for spirits to move me on. You know what I mean? I would, I would.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd want to hang out and kind of help them investigate a little bit before I move on,
Yeah.
Kind of freak them out once in a while.
We should have a word in case one of us dies, and then we're saying, "What's the word? What's the word?"
Well, see, here it's funny that you should say that, because with Sim, we have a thing. If someone dies, the paperwork's going to be sent out pretty soon for everybody to re-sign our agreements. Every year we re-sign agreements.
Yeah.
And in this agreement, it's going to be put down who is the next or the person, the emergency contact. Who are we supposed to contact, in case something ever happened on an investigation, or if they get hurt, or if they die or something like that. Yeah. And then, are you giving your team, then Supernatural Investigations Minnesota, the right to do an EVP session or investigate after you're gone. May came up with this one, and when I mentioned it at the meeting, it was like, oh my God, everybody loved it. So everybody's going to put down, and just in case, not saying we'd ever want that to happen. Like if I die, then everybody would come to my place, do an EVP session.
Yeah, just the one.
And now the code word that I would have to say, which is, it's kind of funny, is that some of them are like, that's too long. If they would say, Jerry, are you with us? The code word is actually Supernatural Investigators of Minnesota. Now that's really long. But
wouldn't it be hard?
Well, Steph, well, who knows? You know, you don't know what it's like on the other side, you know, if we could actually do that. But Steph was saying, no, just say Sim Crew. You know, that would be good enough right there. Okay, now we got a bunch of people saying stuff. Let's take a peek of it. Here, it's an adventure. I love doing what I do. She loves being in the woods. So do I, actually. I love being in the woods. Listening to spirits in a haunted place. Yep. It's all amazing. Cat, number 2. Oh, she's being childish kitty here. My mind went into an alternative meeting. That's funny. People really do not know what they are dealing with. Well, that's the thing is, Steve, is that, you know, some people do know what they're dealing with. Sure, demons can hide and stuff like that, but you can't think that demons are everywhere like that. There could be just people wanting to say goodbye or to, you know, make themselves known. So, you know.
It's a hard one. That's the hard one.
It is, you know. Steph said sad that they need to get help. Same with the people who mess with magic. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone you will pay. LOL, Jerry, what is that for? Lots of love. I think that's what it means. Unless it's someone famous or not who does not have a clue. Okay, well, I'm not going to say that dude's name. Let's see here. Squirrel talk. Squirrel. I love squirrels. You know, there's a squirrel over at Steph's place that I named Squabbit, because it's got a butt of a rabbit, and yet the rest of it is a squirrel. Yeah, we call it Squabbit because it has a little fuzzy tail.
That's crazy.
It's really cute, and it's actually pregnant again, I guess. So I can't wait to see Squabbit this weekend. It'd be fun to find people who still say, get off my lawn. Oh, wow, look at time it is, 7:59. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for listening. We appreciate it. I'm sure some people got lost going to the chat room. Thank you, Para X. Thank you, Sarge. And you are the most wonderful being on this earth. That's great. And thanks, Kim. This is a great topic. Kim came up with the topic. And we'll see you all next week. And thank you, any of the troops listening. We appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.